Hi everyone, Caroline here, and today I'm going to be talking about the obelisk shaped crystals like this one here and how to work with the energy of obelisks. And I'm also going to share with you some practical ways of how you can use and work with the energy of obelisks in your daily life experience. Because I believe that understanding how to work with these spiritual tools is very, very, very important. What's the point of having crystals, or what's the point of having spiritual tools if you don't know how to work with them? So it's really, really important to know at least how to use the tools you have, and especially how to use them in a way that's beneficial for you in your daily life. That's what we want. We want good lives. We want uplifted lives. We want our lives to transform for the better. So yeah, understanding how to work with these spiritual tools is a good thing, right? Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Okay, so for those of you who already have an obelisk crystal in your possession, I'm sure this video is going to be very interesting for you. And if you do not have an obelisk crystal yet, this topic might inspire you to get an obelisk shaped crystal. And even if you don't get one, don't even worry about it, because I'm going to show you how to use the energy of the obelisk, whether you do have a physical obelisk or not. So keep watching. This video has something for everyone. Okay, so here's the story. In ancient Egypt, obelisks were erected in places where there was a lot of energy, or on places which were called power spots, for the main purpose of amplifying the energy of a space, or so that they could emanate a certain frequency. And in this case, it was usually a very powerful spiritual frequency. And many of us have seen these obelisks placed strategically in some places like temples, churches, mosques, or spiritual places. And even in so many cities in the world, like in Washington, D.C., in Paris, in Rome, these obelisks are everywhere. And for me, the mere fact that the ancients worked with the energy of the obelisks for beneficial purposes is good enough for me. So I want to talk about this obelisk energy. Okay, so because the ancients wanted to create a shape that would emit a very powerful amplifying spiritual frequency, they would use stones with a lot of quartz in them, like granite stones, because granite has a lot of quartz in it. And then they would cut the stone in a particular shape and in a particular proportion, which would allow it to produce and emanate a specific frequency, which in this case we know is a spiritual frequency. And the shape of that stone, which was used as a tower to amplify spiritual energy, is the obelisk, which is the focus of this video. So as you can see, these obelisk crystals, they stand upright, and they have an upward projected point which corresponds to the spiritual plane. This upward projected point of the crystal amplifies spiritual energy, radiates energy, broadcasts energy within a space, and even further if that is the case required. And the tower shape or the pillar shape of the obelisk crystal, the shaft and the projected point, acts as an antenna that connects to the spiritual realm. You know, different shapes correspond to different planes of nature. Some shapes correspond to the physical, some to the mental, some to the emotional, and some to the spiritual. Crystals or tools that have an upward projected tip correspond to spiritual connections. So if you want to get activated spiritually or connect to the spiritual realm, it's good to use tools with an upward projected points, like, you know, the pyramid shape or even the obelisk shape. Okay, so the question now becomes, how do you actually use these obelisk shapes and energies? The first way to do this is what I call the portal method, or the entrance method, or the doorway method. This is where you would take two obelisks. I prefer to use similar obelisks, like if I had two lapis lazuli or two quartz, but you can use either a quartz and a lapis lazuli, depends on the kind of energy that you want to be exchanged. Similar ones are usually by preference. But anyway, you would take two obelisks and place them on either side of your altar or of your door, or on either side of any entrance to any energy center or any energy space that you're working on. And how this would look like is something like this. So this is the portal method. So let's assume that this was an entrance to any door or room or your sacred space or even your altar. You would place two obelisks, the ones in red, on either side of that space. And what would be going on is that there would be an energy exchange occurring between the two crystals, left to right, right to left. And most importantly, these two obelisk-shaped crystals would amplify energy of whatever is in the center and act as antennas that connect you to the spiritual realm by virtue of their tips. It's a very powerful, beautiful energy. So whoever's coming into your space, the energy would be converted into an amplified spiritual energy. Your sacred space would have its energy converted into an amplified spiritual energy. It would become a power spot. Your home would have its energy converted into amplified spiritual energy. So if you have two obelisk-shaped crystals placed strategically on either side of your door, of your main door, of your gate, or any entrance to your house, there would be that kind of energy. And of course, it depends on the type of crystals you're using, because crystals by themselves have their own type of energy. So it's very important to know the kind of crystals that you're working with to amplify this energy. If you want to place obelisk crystals that clear the energy of anyone who enters into your room, it's better to use a crystal like black obsidian in the shape of an obelisk, because black obsidian absorbs toxic energy. So anyone who's coming through an entrance that has two obelisk-shaped black obsidian crystals on either side will definitely be cleared, because the obsidians absorb toxic energy and therefore produces a clearing effect. If you're working with lapis lazuli obelisks, you know that lapis lazuli activates higher consciousness. So anything that passes through that will be an amplified spiritual energy of higher consciousness. If you're working with amethyst, you know the kind of energy that amethyst produced, a very, very spiritual energy. So it will be even more amplified. So it's very important for you to know what type of crystals you're working with. It's also very important for you to know your crystals, because the crystals that come in your life, sometimes they have a general purpose, but then again, there's a particular purpose which is revealed to you. So you gotta know your crystals, right? Yeah. Okay, so this is the portal method of how you can work with obelisk-shaped crystals. You can either physically erect two obelisk crystals on either side of an entrance, like we've talked about, or for those who don't have physical obelisk crystals, you can still work with the energy of the obelisk by using your consciousness and your intent to project on either side of any portal the kind of energy that is spiritually amplifying. So this is something you can also do. You can work with the power of your imagination and your mind to create spiritual structures in your space. This is just so cool. We are not limited beings. We are not limited to physical stuff. We are also spiritual beings. So we have to keep using the creative power of our imagination to do lots of stuff. Because whatever we create in imagination, if we feel it as real, if we believe it to be real, if we persist in it, it's a reality in itself. The invisible realm is a reality. So learn to work with it. Learn to work with the invisible realms, because the true creation always begins in the invisible and then it's manifested in the physical. Everything is real. It's so interesting. Everything is real. Okay? And then besides that, you can also draw two-dimensional diagrams and place them on either side of an entrance, of a portal, of a doorway, of a gate, or whatever, to signify the intent you have to radiate an amplified spiritual energy within your particular space. And before I forget, one more thing. If you have 4 obelisks, what you can do with them is something like this. You can place the 4 obelisks around the corners of your bed, or around the corners of your desk, or around the corners of your room, or around the corners of your healing table, or even around the corners of any location. The preference is yours. And so what this does is that it contains the amplified energy that you desire. I mean, based obviously on the qualities of the crystal you have. It contains that amplified energy in a particular space. So this is a very good way of managing and containing the preferred energy that you desire within a space. This is just something that I really, really love. And remember, if you don't have any physical tool or 4 obelisks to use for these kinds of things, Don't forget that you can use the power of your imagination to consciously erect these obelisk structures around your physical space. The important thing is to understand how a shape and an energy is used and to apply it. We gotta apply these tools. We gotta test them and see how they work for us personally. That experience is very, very important. Okay? So enjoy your obelisks. And if you have any questions on how to work with spiritual tools, I offer private one-on-one consultations. Just hit me up at caroline@crystalstock.com and we'll take it from there. And in the meantime, let me know in the comment section how you intend to work with the obelisk energy and where you intend to use it. Until next time, I love you guys.